Okay, guys, here we go.
All right.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Cody Lindley, Jake Ryan from Hannah, Montana, and you're listening to DJ DANI Show.
Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, August 11th, 2020. Welcome to the DJ DANI Show on HamiltonRadio.net, stream HR2. I'm your host, DJ DANI. Tonight we have an amazing and super elaborative guest, one of our good friends here at Hamilton Radio, and we're sad to not have him in the studio due to the virus, but no worries, because we will have him in the studio next year, right, Jimmy?
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Perfect. So we have Jimmy DIELE here, and you guys are going to be listening to his life story practically. I mean, how he got into radio, what he's doing for everyone. He's such an amazing person and very inspirational for everyone. So I wanted to get a little bit started in the interview, Jimmy, is I wanted you to elaborate on when you were younger and people asked you what you wanted to be when you grew up. What did you say?
I wanted to be a disc jockey. I wanted to be on the radio. I thought that was the coolest job in the entire world.
Okay, I love that that was your very first thing when you were younger, and that's something you're doing now. It's amazing. Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, getting more, growing up and everything, was there more where you tried to pursue that dream?
Absolutely. I started as a mobile radio, actually a mobile DJ. Okay. And I started at my local church here in Canarsie, Brooklyn. And they needed a disc jockey for the 8th grade dances. So, and I started out, I had 2 turntables and some DJ equipment, and that's how that started. And I did that for quite a few years. So I was DJ Jimmy at Holy Family in Canarsie, and I did that for a long time.
Well, let's get a little bit where you were saying disc jockey and everything. So when you wanted to be a mobile DJ, like this is something that you wanted to pursue, to have like the experience in your back pocket and everything. Was this something that was complicated for you, or harder to grasp when you were like trying to play the turntables and play?
No, it wasn't actually. I was a little nervous about starting to do it, but once it got started, I was very comfortable with it. And it seemed to work well for me. And and once I did that, I really wanted to pursue something further. And that's where radio came.
Yeah, so it was something that it was exciting to get the experience from, but you wanted to go further with the inspiration of it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So from church and to, growing up and everything, was there more that you did try to pursue for being a radio disc jockey? Did you go to school for radio?
Yes, I went to ATS, which was called the Announcer Training Studios. It was in Manhattan. And I went there for like 2 years, graduated from there, and received a little broadcasting degree that they give you, and I started to work in television. That was the first thing I really did. And I worked for the television show Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
And Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, is that who I believe Richard, hold on.
That's Robin Leach
was
the host.
Yes, so Robin Leach. So how was it like working with Robin Leach?
Robin was great. I worked in his New York City office. Where he worked out of when he was not traveling, and I pretty much did all his personal running around for him, from his doctors to his lawyers to going to pick up stuff for him and drop off stuff for him at the post office. And so I was a personal assistant pretty much. And I did it for like 6 months, and he was fun. He was a fun guy to work with.
Was it also kind of like an internship for yourself to learn and get to know a lot more in the industry?
Yes, it started as an internship, and anyone who's looking to get into television or radio, that's what I highly recommend, is starting as an intern, because that's the best way to get your foot in the door at a radio or television station. Even if you have to sweep the floors, do it. That's the way to start. And but if you have to run around and do it. For someone that...
Continue.
Go ahead.
No, continue.
No, I said that's the best way to pretty much get into the business, of radio and television.
Now, Jimmy, do you recommend others that want to be in radio that they should go to school for it? Or if they have the experience, can they go far if they try to be an intern or get their foot in the door? Or what do you recommend?
Yeah, I recommend, going to school for it, of course. It doesn't hurt to have a little broadcasting in your background, when you get into an internship. And a lot of times schools offer an area where they can actually get you an internship at a local radio station. Sometimes there's no pay involved or whatever that is. But you know what? It's definitely worth it because you don't know where that can take you. And a lot of times it can take you very, very far.
It definitely can. I guess it also depends on who you're interning for. Like the experience and getting to know behind the doors, what it seems like. But continue.
Go ahead. It's just a great stepping stone, and you don't know where it can take you. And you can move in a lot of different directions once you're, even in any sort of radio facility or television studio or whatever television station. So you don't know where it can lead. So I think it's a great opportunity for anyone who can do that.
To get their foot in the door. Now,
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit when you were being a personal assistant. Did it ever seem like too, not complicated, but a little like maybe too much? Like, was it ever too hectic for you where you were like, okay, this is something I want, but wow, this is a lot. Like it wasn't easy as everyone thinks. A challenge kind of.
No, it was not easy because I had to literally run around Manhattan and take trains and, buses and cabs and, and do a lot of walking, so, and I really, I didn't know Manhattan at that time as well as I do now. So it was complicated and it definitely wasn't easy. That's for sure.
Now, did it also seem like, was it worth the money? Like, did it feel like it was stressful? Or anything, just for people that are trying to get in their foot in the door, they're gonna have that time where it's just where they might have that fight with themselves, where it's just like relax, calm down, you got this. But it takes so far to get to that spot you want. So,
right. I mean, it's it definitely there were times you're saying, well, I'm doing all this, I'm really not making a lot of money. Is it worth it? But
yes.
It depends. If you really have that dream and you really, you really have that desire to work in the business, you just know that it can lead somewhere, and that makes it worth it if you want to stay in the business. A lot of it has to be your own drive. A lot of it has to be, you want to be in the radio and television business.
Yeah. So
and
it
depends how much you have that drive in you.
Yeah, so it definitely depends on pushing yourself and knowing your goals, seeing what your next amazing elaboration can be or something that is great to be a part of with the experience.
Right.
So from being a personal assistant for Robin Leach, what was your next goal? Did you try to get on radio stations or what exactly was your next thing?
Yeah, I wanted to work in radio. I mean, I always wanted to work in radio. And while I was working for Robin Leach, I had an opportunity to do a little bit of an internship at 95.5 WPLJ in New York City, a legendary radio station in New York City for many, many years.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So I started there and I started working in research. And I did promotions. And then I worked my way up. I was there for many, many years. I was there for like 13 years and went up to being a producer, in studio producer for Archer and Rusty, who was the morning show host at that point in time, and Gary and Linda, who was Gary Bryan and Linda, who were on the air. And then later on it was Rocky Allen, and then Scott Shannon and Todd Pettengill, the Scott and Todd Show. So I worked through all those shows. I worked with all those personalities over the years and as an in-studio producer and on radio, and it developed, so that's what I'm saying. We're an internship. You never know where it can lead to and where you can wind up with it.
Because with an internship, you getting that, it's mostly you do get the experience, but it's also the people that you work with, but it's also like who talks about you. Like in a good way, there, because they can always be like, oh, I have, DJ Jimmy here, and he would be great to be your radio show disc jockey or fill-in or something like that. So it's always nice to have that also.
Right. So you're making, what's great about it is you can make a lot of connections and you hook up with, and you get to know a lot of people that work there. So, and you become friends with a lot of people that work there. So a lot of opportunities that open up. I mean, you're right there. So,
yeah.
So that can work.
Social connections too. Yeah,
Absolutely.
but the social connections are probably really great too, because you want to have a great bond with everyone that you work with, and you want it to be where you make your job fun, And I think that a lot with radio, stations and shows that I've listened to, they all work amazing because they all act like a family. So you being part of that, and you giving your 2 cents, and you being, caring, sweet, and getting to know everyone, and them getting to know you, that works out amazing because you all are in it together. You all build each other up.
Absolutely. You become a big family is what, really what you become. I mean,
Yes.
all your friends, it becomes a family.
And then it's sad when things happen or anyone has to leave. That's just not fair, because life goes on.
Yes, absolutely. We just had, WPLJ just went off the air. It was last May.
Oh, that's so
We
sad.
had a reunion. We had a big reunion. So I was on the air there once again for the very last time last May. I was invited into the studio to pretty much say goodbye to the listeners. And then we had a big reunion party at a place in Manhattan, and it was so much fun. I mean, everybody, whoever worked there for all the years of WPLJ was at the party, so it was so much fun. It was great.
I think it's very nice though that you were a part of it and you helped and you learned so much. I also like that you said that you were a producer. Was it on WPLJ?
Yes, I was studio producer for all the morning shows pretty much at WPLJ. For many years, and pretty much studio producer. I'll explain what that is. That's pretty much handling, getting the music. At that time in radio, we didn't play records. We played a thing called the card. It looked like an 8-track tape, and that's what they would play. So we would, I'd pull all the music for the hour, all the tapes for an hour, for the whoever was on the air, and keep track of the logs and make sure everything was running smoothly. That's a studio producer, pretty much. And I did that for all those shows. And then, then they pretty much put me on the radio. And when I worked with Rocky Allen, he wanted me to go out and interview celebrities. So we started a celebrity show. I had a celebrity show called Celebrity Spotlight, and that was really, really fun. That's where I got to meet a lot of people and interview them. So that was a huge part of my career, and one of the most fun parts of my career that, and I still know a lot of people to this day. And it was a great experience, really.
Who were some of the celebrities you got to interview on your Celebrity Spotlight?
I had everybody. I've had everybody from a lot of singers like Tom Jones. I had Wayne Newton. I had Engelbert Humperdinck. Let's see, we had Rodney Dangerfield. So many people. I had Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash I met 5 times. I actually interviewed him quite a few times. A great guy. The list goes on and on. Everybody from John Denver, I've met Shania Twain over the years, and Leanne Rimes, and so many people. And somebody I think that's related to you, I got to know pretty well, Debbie Gibson.
Yes, my cousin. One day I will meet her. I'm putting that out there now.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because when I was a studio producer at WPLJ, when I first started there, and before I was even on the radio, a lot of times I would answer the request lines, and she would call a friend of mine that was on the air. His name was Fast Jimmy Roberts. He used to do nights at WPLJ. Okay. And Debbie would call all the time, and I'd pick up the phone, and she had her first record out, and she would always request her own song. This is a true story. She would request her own song, and we'd play it, and I'd talk to her all the time. Pretty funny.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what a lot of celebrities do, though. Well, back then they did, to get their music out there and everything. It's sad that they had to do that because, a lot of people didn't know or understand what was out there with different genres and mixes of everything. But wow, I actually did not know that she did that. I'm sure a lot of celebrities do that nowadays, though.
A lot, and I think I believe I used to talk to her. She has a younger sister, and her sister used to call in. And then what was amazing after time, as she started to get popular, was after Only in My Dreams, and she came up to the radio station. So I got to meet her in person. I took pictures with her, and I got to know her over the years. And I just went to her mix tape tour last June, and I got to go back and say hello to her and took some cool pictures with her. She's a great singer and a great person.
Yeah, she's a phenomenal singer. She takes my breath away when I hear her music, honestly. Couldn't be a happier relative than that. But I wanted to get a little bit back. So what would you say when you were first wanting to get into radio? Where did you feel like your inspiration came from? Was there like a certain radio station you listened to growing up, or something you watched on TV, like anyone, for instance?
Well, after Elvis Presley passed away, I started to listen to his records and pretty much watched the videos. And I was like 10 years old when he had passed, and I really started to love his music and that type of thing, and pretty much would watch all his videos and the old concerts. And he had a good friend that was on the radio in Memphis. His name was George Klein. He was one of Elvis Presley's best friends and pretty much helped out, went to high school with Elvis and, gave him a lot of opportunity as far as finding records and all types of things like that. And he was a very popular radio disc jockey in Memphis. And so being a big fan of Elvis, I one time decided to go out to Memphis to visit Graceland. And I decided George was on the air at a popular radio station. I think it was WLVS and WEZI. It was out in Memphis. And I just went over to the radio station. I did not know him. We knocked on the door, and he came out, and he was the nicest guy. He gave me a tour of the station. I hung out with him. We took pictures together, and we became friends for many, many years.
Wow. Isn't that crazy how something happened so quickly and you never know what it is? It just happens right when you walk in. That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's the universe looking out for you, Jimmy.
Absolutely. So George and I became friends, and he through the years, he made me a correspondent on his show because I was doing Celebrity Spotlight at PLJ. So he knew I liked working with celebrities and doing interviews, so I would often get him celebrities. He also aired my Johnny Cash interview that still runs today on SIRIUS, Elvis Radio. Mm-hmm. And it was a great opportunity to know him, and I got to meet a lot of people at Graceland and in the Elvis community. So that was awesome. And so I got to meet all of Elvis's friends, all his people he hung out with, and all the people he knew, and his staff, and so I'm friends with.
Did you meet Priscilla, Jimmy?
I did meet Priscilla. Yep, and she's very, very cool. Yeah, I like Priscilla.
Yeah, everyone says that she is a sweetheart and like the sweetest silent thing. Like she's very adorable, and the way that she talks is very sweet and whatnot. But she does a lot of chiller cons or conventions.
She was at. She did a couple of years ago. Yeah.
She's
that was fun meeting her.
Right?
Oh yeah, she's going strong. I mean, Lisa, her daughter's just had some family problems and stuff like that. And I hope they're working that out okay. But yeah, Priscilla's doing fine. Yeah. She's living in
I was gonna say I thought I remembered reading something. Maybe it was a fake news thing that she passed, but I don't think she did. So I was.
No, she did not.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So she's still alive.
Yeah, she's alive in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay, awesome. So when you were, being a DJ and everything for your Catholic school or your Catholic church, I'm sorry.
Right.
Wanting to be a part of that and everything. Did you have an inspiration for wanting to be a DJ, like, with turntables, or was it something that you taught yourself?
As far as radio's influence in radio, other than George Klein, when I was DJing, there was a radio station I listened to growing up. It was called, it's still around, it's called KTU, which is now 103.5 KTU.
Okay,
which that
sounds very familiar. Yeah.
I also worked there for a while. And I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But years ago, it was 92 KTU. And I used to love that radio station. And I love the DJs on there. Like there was Joe Causey, who's still around today. He's very popular on CBS FM. And Al Bandero. All these guys that I used to listen to and idolize when I was growing up. And I wanted to be like these guys. And later on became friends of mine. And I'm still friends with today, which is awesome. But so that was a big influence when I was DJing parties, because I wanted so much to be I thought it was the ultimate thing to be in radio, to be part of radio and be like these guys who were on the air talking and stuff like that. And I just wanted to, be part of that. So that was definitely a huge influence. you know?
Oh my gosh, I love that. I really do. I think that's very inspirational for a lot of listeners. Just for people wanting to get their foot in the door or just setting their goals straight. And like you said, you had your goal, what you wanted to be when you grew up. I mean, did you have another option? Like if it could never work out?
Well, you know what? I was pretty much I was going to take all the city tests. I was going to want to work for the city and retire early and that type of thing. Okay. I really didn't have any other real big desire to do anything else other than, be on air and radio.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was really my main goal. And that was my focus pretty much.
Well, when you got more into radio and you wanted, you took things serious right from the start, which is amazing because I think for a lot of interns that get their foot in the door, sometimes they don't take it too seriously. And, they want to mess around, have fun. A lot of people do, my age as well. You took it seriously so straight from the start that it got you super far. Like it strived you completely to the highest, achievement that you ever could exceed in yourself. And
right. It was an amazing desire, and I just pretty much pushed that desire, and that's where it led,
Yeah, no, I think it's really amazing from, the start of what you wanted to be and where you are now completely, in just a couple of years or a few years or so forth like that. So,
right.
It's very interesting for a lot of people. But I wanted to matter on the fact that you were, when you were into radio and getting more into it with your inspirations and everything, did you have your family and everyone support you? Did they want to call in when you were a producer? Did they ever want to be on maybe if you were interviewing a show or?
Not really. No, I mean, my family, they supported me, of course, because that's what I wanted to do. But as far as being big fans of radio and being, not really, no. I mean, they didn't really call into the shows or anything like that. But so this was my own personal desire, and they pretty much supported me.
Well, that's awesome that they supported you from the back lines, though.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'm sure every single time you got an achievement, you called them or told them what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would call them up and tell them all the exciting news, and so that would be great. Another thing I started to do when I was at WPLJ interning, I started working in New Jersey at a little radio station, an oldies radio station. At that time, I was 19 years old at that point, and I was playing oldies. I was playing Dean Martin and stuff. I didn't even know what I was playing half the time. I learned it as I went along.
Okay.
But I was working.
So finding more genres.
Yep. And that was WNNJ up in Sussex, New Jersey. It was my first radio station where I was actually had my own show and it was on the radio. I was it was a commercial radio station, so I was so happy and it was so much fun. So I did that for 6 months there, and then I moved to Franklin, New Jersey, and I worked at WSUS FM 102.3, and I was there for 5 years, and I would do weekends, and I used to drive from Brooklyn. This is how bad I had that desire. I would drive from Brooklyn, which was about 2 hours. So, in all kinds of rain, sleet, and snow.
Ooh.
So.
But you know what? A lot of people like I said, you push yourself for your goal. And if your goal is to be on that radio station and it's a drive, sometimes we have to make it work. Because it's the amazing of the experience and the people that you get to meet or the people that can open doors for you down the road. You never want to miss them. So.
Yeah, so it was, it was tough though. I mean, it was definitely not an easy feat, that's for sure. I mean,
no.
I used to drive from Brooklyn, New York. If anybody knows New York and New Jersey, I mean, from Brooklyn up into Sussex is a hike. And I used to do that at 4:00 in the morning. To set out from Brooklyn 4:00 in the morning and be on the air at 6:00 in the morning up in New Jersey and Franklin. It was tough. It was tough, and some days it'd be snowing and sleeting. And up in Sussex, it's no joke. It's no joke. So it was definitely not an easy feat to accomplish.
Did you ever stay in hotels nearby if you couldn't get home?
I did. Well, a lot of times when I moved to WSUS, I was also up in Sussex and Franklin. I'd stay in Wayne, New Jersey, which is about I guess about a half hour down Route 23 in New Jersey, if anyone knows New Jersey. And I'd say at the Wayne Motor Inn, so I definitely would stay over because a lot of times I do Friday nights and then I do Saturday nights. So it was just too much for me sometimes if it was bad weather or whatever, and I was just too tired. Sometimes I would do the all-night show. I'd stay on the air all night, and then it'd be too tough for me to drive back in the morning. So so I stayed over a lot of times in motels and stuff. Yes.
Wow, so it varied from a lot of different opportunities that you achieved and pushed yourself. Well, Jimmy, the thing I was going to say, when you were talking about the two radio stations, the one in Sussex and the one in Franklin, you didn't do them in the same day, did you?
No. The one in Newton I did for about 6 months, and then I pretty much had an opportunity to work at the one in Franklin, and so I left that station. So I went from oldies, and the station up in Franklin was adult contemporary station. So then I wound up staying there for like 5 years, and it was a cool experience. It really was. It was one of the most fun radio stations I ever worked at.
Oh boy, you're making me want to branch my horizons. It sounds so exciting to just get on the road and look for more opportunities. But I sadly have to wait because of COVID. Everything.
Yeah, right now it's everything is COVID. Yeah.
A lot of it is a little harder and more struggling, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also the point of what might come out of this. Is it going to be something beautiful? Is it going to be something that we had to wait for? Or is it something that we sadly had to wait for and it's nothing? So, I mean, it branches your horizons all over. And it's pretty interesting because none of us know what's next.
Exactly. Especially you never know what's next. Because radio is, it's a tough business. It's not an easy business.
It is, yeah.
I mean, a lot of times they change formats and they change program directors and bosses and stuff like that. And a lot of times when they do that, there's a change of air staff. So, you don't know what's going to happen, I mean, that's radio life,
So, Jimmy, were you speaking of, like, for instance, say that's like a different manager or they change the staff? Would it be like you go on one day and you might not be a part of that show that day, or they let you go? Not saying in your experience, but I mean, like, in your standpoint.
In my experience, I mean, I was lucky enough, I worked at PLJ and I pretty much worked with the same staff for many, many years. Yeah. I mean, I changed different show hosts. I mean, as I said, I went through, from Archer and Rusty to Gary Bryan and Linda. To Rocky Allen and then Scott Shannon. So, I mean, but I pretty much, those staffs kept changing, but I was lucky enough to stay on those morning shows all through those years, which is a pretty hard feat to do, actually, because usually when they change morning shows and when they change staff like that, a lot of times they change the entire staff.
Yeah, so, I was going to say they normally do. Or they try to change it up to where it's like a different show. Or change the name to it, or like the standpoint of it, so they can get more viewers or what they're trying to search for. I understand that.
Right. So it was really, really hard to try to not let that happen to me. So I mean, eventually it does, catch up with you, and eventually that's radio. It's the nature of the business.
Yes. Yeah.
So eventually PLJ did end for me, and I wound up going to a country station, which was New York's country station, was WYNY. New Country Y107. It was on in New York and New Jersey, and I changed my name.
I love that.
And I wasn't Jimmy DIELE anymore. I was a disc jockey called Cousin Vinny. So I was Cousin Vinny for 5 years.
Okay, where did the name come from?
It's funny because they wanted to make the break because I was so associated with WPLJ and everybody knew me as Jimmy DIELE from the morning show at WPLJ, and I was there for so many years. And so the program director at WYNY, New Country Y107, called me in his office and, he goes, we want to sort of make that change and not associate you with WPLJ. We want you to be something different. So I said, okay. So he pulls me in his office and he goes, you're from Brooklyn. He goes, you like country music. And did you ever see the movie Cousin Vinny? I said, I did.
Okay.
So if you know the movie, he's from Brooklyn. He wears cowboy boots. He's in the country. And so he goes, what if we call you Cousin Vinny? I was like, okay, that sounds good to me, and it worked. And it worked for 5 years.
Well, that's awesome. Because I didn't actually know that you worked for a country station. That's amazing. You got to definitely work with all different types of genres and mixes, and that's definitely exciting. Yeah.
And what was weird about that was, I never knew much about country music. I learned it as I went along, and you can hear me when I was first on the air at WYNY. New Country Y107 you hear me almost reading the labels. Here's Reba McEntire. I mean, you actually, so I really didn't know the music. I learned it, and I made it my point to learn it. And what's so wild about it is I'm a huge country music fan to this day. Love country. So it made me a
Yes.
big fan. So, you know.
Did you feel like
So
when you were being on the show or doing the country radio, did you ever have a twang by accident? That happens.
A little bit, yes. I mean, it definitely happens. Absolutely, yes.
It just happens by accident. It's like it doesn't even mean to happen, but it does.
Oh, it happens. Yep. Yeah. So the phone the wrong way. Sometimes it's because you're so used to working other different stations and stuff.
Oh,
But yeah, definitely,
yeah.
accidents happen. Absolutely.
Did you
So, yeah,
ever
and-
work? Jimmy, did you ever work behind the scenes where you were doing like engineering or anything as well in your experiences with working with all the radio stations?
Right, I did. After WPLJ, I had left there and I was working at WYNY, and I also was working at WABC Radio,
I know that
77.
one too. Yeah.
So there I was totally behind the scenes. I would run the board, run the radio board, which pretty much is all the controls. People that don't know what radio board is, and pretty much I'd answer the phones and screen the phone calls for the host, for Rush Limbaugh and Curtis Sliwa, and all these radio hosts I worked with back then, and it was so much fun, and I did that for a long time behind the scenes too. So I worked for WABC Radio.
Wow, so you did work behind the scenes. Okay, that was interesting to ask you because I didn't know if you did. It's it's really fun to work with an engineering board and stuff. Like here at Hamilton Radio, I used to help with engineering besides going to work and everything, and it's really interesting and exciting to find out more information about what all these buttons do and how they can help and make the sound so much better than what it is.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's so you need to go to school for it is what what you said earlier, and that's kind of true. So
I learned a little bit. I mean, when I went to broadcasting school, they taught us a little bit about that. But at that time, the studios in the broadcasting school, and it was funny because one of the teachers at the broadcasting school was his name was Johnny Allen, and he used to be on the station that I idolized growing up, which was that 92 KTU, and he wound up being one of my teachers. So I learned a lot from him. And and at that time they were teaching the old radio boards. These were the old radio boards. I mean, you probably see pictures of them now. They're the round dials. It would turn a round dial, and that would pretty much pot up. They would call it pots, and they would pot up the music, and you'd have two turntables. So that's pretty much what I learned on. And I did work with that in New Jersey at the first oldie station, but then they moved on to newer technology as I went on.
Yeah, updated. Of course, that's like every couple of months. They're always making something new. Oh my gosh.
Now everything is digital and computerized. So now the last radio station I just did stuff for in this area was called K98.5. It's on the Jersey Shore, and I was doing country. It was New Jersey. It was Jersey's country station. And it was all digital. It was all computerized. And I had to learn. I was so nervous. And they had to teach me how to do all this computer stuff. Because I started out with turntables and tapes and, and all these stations. So it was all complicated to me,
What's sad about it is how they rely so much on the digital to the point, like what happens if, a laptop breaks or the computer, doesn't work. That happens a lot, with all radio stations, Hamilton Radio and a lot more. And it's so, it's not typical, but it's very frustrating. Because say, like for yourself being a radio show host, you have a show that you want to do, but you can't because the software doesn't work or there's an update. So that's another thing where it's like, oh God, I hate technology.
So, yeah, I mean, I missed working with the carts and with the records and stuff. But I mean, it's not as fun with the computers. I mean, I got used to it and it was fun. Once I learned it, it was okay. But it was something about spinning the actual 45s and 33s on the radio that there's nothing like that really.
The records, right? Are you talking about records?
I'm talking about records, right? Yep. 33s are the big ones and 45s are the little ones, little records. I used to spin with the little oldies station I worked for. They're little records.
I was going to say also, Jimmy, I believe some other radio stations, they might still be using, I don't think they're using an AR track. But they're using tapes where they record something and then they replay it on air. Okay. Still from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think that there are some stations still using. We used to call them carts, and some stations still have the carts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I worked with Scott Shannon loved carts. He loved working with that type of thing. And I don't know if he still does at CBS FM where he is now, but when I worked with him, he loved working with the carts, and that's all he pretty much used when I was with him at PLJ. And pretty much all the PLJ DJs used that when I was there. But I think Scott, from what I think Scott has moved on now to the computer stuff.
Yes. No, I feel like the computer stuff is definitely where we're going to be at for a while, and it's going to update. So just get ready for it. It's just going to update and get more complicated. Jimmy, did you ever get a chance to or want to meet Howard Stern when you got into radio as well? I know a lot of people say, because he did radio, a lot of people are interested in, his ethic, basically, like his inspiration of being on air and his interviews and stuff.
I'm gonna tell you a little story about Howard. When I when I was working for Robin Leach and I was just getting into radio, I get a call from Gary. I don't know if you're a big Howard Stern fan. Gary is his producer, and so I get a call from Gary, and Gary offers me a job as an intern to be a news intern for Robin, who works with Howard. And at that point in time, I turned it down because they were not paying at that point in time. They weren't. It was just a free internship.
Okay,
and at
so
that time,
the experience you would get. I got you. Okay.
And at that time, WPLJ, I started working for, and they were paying me at that point in time. And I really was able, I really wanted to get a little bit of money at that point in time. So I went with the WPLJ thing. But I don't know where that would have led, and it could have led, to really, really big things for me if I did go with Howard. But who knows? I mean, I did pretty well doing what I did, but who knows? You just never know.
Well, I was going to say, did you try contacting him afterwards, or was it like he called you once and that was? That
was the one time, and and then I sort of became friends with Gary, and I'd often see him in Manhattan, and we do, a lot of times when I was running around interviewing celebrities, I'd run into Gary. So we remained friends through the years. In fact, Gary had Howard sign me a picture. He sent it to me. And and the very first interviews I did from WPLJ, which is pretty funny, I interviewed ZZ Top, the rock group ZZ Top.
Okay, and that sounds familiar. What year? Or what rock group?
It's got to be back in around 1990, 91.
Okay,
but they're no famous rock group. They have these long beards and stuff. I'm sure you've probably seen them at one point or another. Very famous rock group.
Yeah.
ZZ Top. Well, anyway, they sent me to interview ZZ Top with Stuttering John, who was one of Howard's people at that point in time, and he was on the Howard Stern show. And he was asking questions, and John was sitting right next to me, so I thought that was pretty funny. So it was another Howard Stern thing, and I was at PLJ, and it's funny because John had talked about it on the Howard Stern show that this guy Jimmy from PLJ was next to me and accused me of stealing his questions, which I did not, but we sort of asked.
That's not fair.
But I thought it was funny because Howard talked about me and I was on it, so that was great.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, with you in the radio and everything, did you ever have to deal with people being mean? I mean, is everyone nice in radio? Do people kind of seem fake? Was it hard for you to make friends? Is kind of where I'm trying to get an idea.
No, I mean, pretty much I got along with everyone. Of course, you're gonna run across people who are difficult. I mean, in this business, and I had my share of them. Believe me, not everyone is nice. I mean, you have to make the best of that. And then that's just a business. Some people just fool themselves, and you're dealing with very big egos, especially when you're working for big radio stations and people in big positions. So you have to take that into consideration. But not everyone is nice. Even some of these celebrities that you interview, I mean, some of them are really nice and some of them are not. So you just can't take anything personal. You do the best you can, and that's it.
Well, Jimmy, another thing is when you mean by they're not nice, do you mean like they feel like they might be fake until they're on air with you, or they're just not nice to interview at all?
A lot of times they're just a lot of times they're weird. I don't want to name celebrities that I.
No, don't name anyone. You could just talk about it.
I don't want to do that. But a lot of times like they're just difficult. They're difficult doing interviews. A lot of times they're a different person when they're on the radio, and then when they're off air, they're a totally different person.
Oh, 100%. Yes, I've noticed that.
Jockeys, I had that with radio personalities. I had that with celebrities. But the majority of people that I've dealt with over the years have been really cool. So that's been a blessing, really. So.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad that you got the basically the feel of both ways, and
Right.
you also kind of learned down the road, the way that you interviewed these celebrities that are different to maybe the way that you didn't think they were going to be, a different standpoint on how you can elaborate and kind of learn from what you learned from the past in that situation of just getting to know who the celebrity was or who you're talking about.
Right.
So I think that's definitely that's a huge achievement, because you would how to jump back and forth. If you have somebody that's mean, you still stand on your feet, but you gotta be, well, when you say your questions to the people that are like a little mean or in your face, kind of not nice, did you try to cut their interviews quick, or did you still try to be elaborate as you tried to interview them?
Yeah, I always try to be, pretty much I try to be nice as I possibly can, and I still try to pursue the interview and try the best I can to get them to be a little bit, helpful in getting that interview done, So yeah. I always tried my best to do that.
And then when the interview is done, you're just like, thank you for your time, and then they're just like, yeah, whatever, or something.
Yep, I got to interview our president like at least 3 times, which is awesome. President Trump, and Bill Clinton. So I got to meet.
Okay. Oh, you did Bill?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I did Bill Clinton, and Bush came up to our radio station one time when I was at WABC. So I got to meet a lot of cool people, such as presidents and stuff like that. And that, that's always been fun and stuff. And Trump was cool. Trump was always cool with me. I mean, he was a good guy. Sometimes it's still like, I see he hasn't changed a lot. When I see when the press interviews him, and a lot of times if he doesn't like a question, he gets sort of like, he'll blow up the question. And he did that back when he was long before he was president. That's just the way he is. And but he was always nice to me, though. He was a good guy.
I was gonna say a lot of that also is in his documentary on Netflix. I watched one of his documentaries, and he's very high-strung about money, and like he sticks his nose up and whatnot. Like I know he acts like he's the shit and whatnot. Everybody knows that, but he definitely deals with a lot of trials and tribulations, like all of us. And he's trying to save everyone, and people see it differently. So it's just, I don't know. I don't want to turn political now. That's not good. We're going to lose all our views.
One of the best things to do if you're in radio and you're in entertainment is just keep your political views to yourself. I've learned that over the years.
Oh, yeah. I think it really can affect you, though. It can affect you also if you're friends with, like, musicians. Or it can also affect your viewers and listeners, Like, you can go to being the hottest crap on, TV or on radio, and then somebody hears something about it, and then you just go down to the dumps and you lose everything. It's that scary, isn't it? Whew.
Yeah, these days more than any, I think, that comes into play. I mean, I see that so often today. So that's why I really try to stay out of politics. I mean, if you want to be in radio, you're an entertainer, and stick to doing that. I'm not a politician, so I don't get involved in it.
It's very fun to just get to know people, entertain them. Get to know them, entertain them, and just learn about them and learn about yourself too, because when you're getting to know the other person, sometimes you have thoughts where you're like, okay, me too, like you kind of agree to what they say, or you kind of have that same experience or aspect that you want to share too. So you learn both ways, I guess you could say.
Sure, and you got to really have some pretty good people skills to work in this business for sure. And you certainly have them, DJ Danny.
Well, thank you. I definitely am trying. Again, like I told you off air as well, I've been doing my show since I'm 18, so I am 23 now. But this is something that I definitely enjoy. I love getting to know who my guests are, you as well. Giving you the time to, explain your life. Helping people that need inspiration to get into radio, as what you said yourself, for people to go to school, that's like the best bet. And then definitely from school, try to get an internship. I mean, that's probably like very simple and easy for them, because they'll have a goal set and they can try to achieve it. Not as fast as you, but we all take our turns and time.
I mean, I told you when I was really on my first radio on air job was 19. So I mean, it took a long time. It was not overnight. And a lot of colleges and schools have radio stations, that you can work in, which is a great opportunity as well. I didn't go to a college here in Brooklyn called Kingsborough, but I did take some broadcasting stuff there, and I did work on their radio station. It was called B91 Brooklyn, New York's radio station. So a lot of times there's opportunities there too. If you go to college, and you could get into a radio station at your college, and that'd be a great way to get into the business. It's a good experience.
No, that is. I think that's amazing, though, that you can also recommend that to our viewers and listeners. For anyone that wants to get their foot in the door, like you said. Right.
Yeah, and the business is never changing. It's changing by the minute, and you just got to go roll with the flow. That's it. Keep punching.
That's very true. Yeah. So, Jimmy, I wanted to know if you had any interesting stories about radio, either where you felt like you learned something or something, fun or inspirational you want to share with everyone.
Well, pretty much. I learned a lot in radio. I mean, you learn how to deal with people. You learn how to deal with listeners. Dealing with the listeners is always such a fun part of the business.
Yes.
I used to love being out and about with the listeners. When I worked for PLJ, I used to do club appearances, and it's one of the most precious times I remember was being out with the listeners in clubs and, just hanging out with them and giving out T-shirts and stuff like that. Always, and whenever I was out on live on location, it was always so much fun, and I learned so much about, just being a part of the people and dealing with your listeners, and that means so much when you're in the business,
Oh, but I hate when radio stations were always out there live and they gave away gifts and stuff, and I was never a part of it. You know how jealous that made me?
Yeah, what I used to do, trivia questions.
Okay.
I used to come up with old TV trivia or TV show trivia, ask questions about a TV show or, local stuff going on, and I would take questions, and that's how people, would win. That would be like the first way to do it, rather because you only get a limited amount of stuff that you can give out, so you have to really make it work. So you have to make it work for the best of the people, the listeners, and yourself.
Well, when it came out, did you ever give away like tickets, like concert tickets, or not circus tickets? Just any tickets for people to want to be a part of or to go to like events?
All the time. I mean, when I was at PLJ, we gave away tickets to Bon Jovi concerts. I mean, I'd be out there. They'd send me out with a pair of tickets, to whatever concert was in Phil Collins or something like that. And concert tickets, or I had T-shirts, but a lot of times concert tickets, yeah. And the concert tickets would be the biggest prize. So I would leave that for last and somehow come up with a cool game for people to win the prize tickets, which would be a concert, concert ticket.
That's where you get me. Oh God, I hate that. That's not fair, but that's how it is. That's how every radio station is. They make it so complicated for the tickets. I wish it was easy.
Yeah, I know. And it's amazing when people will do a T-shirt. When you're in radio, you realize how powerful a T-shirt is. You would never realize that until you're in radio.
I understand that completely because I'm a huge fan of 92XTU. And before they closed down Prospector's Grill in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, because they just closed it down because the one, I think, husband passed away. I don't know if it's from COVID, but he passed, so they closed the bar down. And they actually did country-line dancing there. There were people that would practically, take off their clothes to get a shirt. Like, you witnessed that.
One time they sent me up to a club up in New Jersey, in upstate New York, called Police. It was a club, and we were doing some sort of like a contest with some girls, and they were wearing bikinis and stuff, and we were giving away stuff, and it just got wild. It got a little too wild, and we had to stop it. And I can't really say what happened, but it was things like that happen. It's amazing what people will do for some T-shirts and prizes. So.
Yeah, no, well, it also depends if they have some alcohol in their system. I understand that completely. For a bikini, of course.
We had to calm that down. And, so yeah, we had a lot of fun experiences like that, though. I mean, all different appearances and stuff like that. And that was like one of the most fun things I remember about being at PLJ and all these big stations is going out and having a lot of fun with the listeners.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely part of it. But let me ask you something. Did you ever have to deal with haters?
Oh, absolutely, all the time. I mean, yeah. I mean, when I was at PLJ, I'd often go out on the road with a van and sometimes be on location somewhere for the morning show. And another opposite radio station at that point in time was Z100. And you'd have the Z100 people who love Z100. And they hated the other station, which was us. You know, they'd come out and they say things or whatever. And
I know
one
Z100.
time,
Yeah, I've heard of them.
so you know, you get a lot of those people too. Yeah, absolutely.
Did it ever seem
mean,
like it was? Oh, continue.
No, just for the most part. I mean, it usually went well, but once in a while, you know, you would definitely get people from that like other radio stations that didn't like yours. You know, but that's just going to happen. You know, no matter where you are.
Yeah. Well, did you ever have to deal with it? It was like rival with radio stations? I mean, I don't think people are like that, but was it back then maybe?
It was at one point. There was one time I was out with PLJ, and I had the PLJ van, and Z100 was out there with their van, and one of the disc jockeys was out there, and I was out there, and he told his guys to come over and start rocking my van, and I'm like, please don't destroy this van. I says, you know, you're gonna get me in trouble. I says, you know, I said, just leave our van alone, please. And, you know, so, yeah, sometimes it did get a little hairy like that. Sometimes.
Oh, boy. All right, so hopefully the cops was called for that situation, if that ever had to happen.
I tried to calm that situation down, which I did. So,
okay.
It'll be funny.
So did you ever have to deal with calling cops, though?
Not that I remember, no. I don't think any police were ever really involved. I mean, a lot of times they would come out to where I was and they'd be around, you know, just doing their job, you know, for the appearance. But I don't remember any time me actually calling the police for some particular reason.
All right, well, that's good then, because I know a lot of some radio shows, well, depending on events and stuff, it can get a little too crazy, like you said, wild, where you can't even, like, you know, stop it. So you have to call the higher ups. Yeah. So that was like the worst experience I ever had with another radio station when I was out on the road doing a remote thing for the morning show. You know. Oh, boy.
Pretty wild.
Well, getting up early was definitely kind of worth it, though, right?
Well, you know what it was. It was, you know, I'd have to be in the studio at PLJ at 5 a.m, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And then I would do a celebrity spotlight show where I would have to meet celebrities around the city in Manhattan, and either at their hotel room or in a restaurant. And so I'd work pretty much in the station till like 2 p.m, and I'd be running around all day, you know, meeting celebrities and interviewing them and stuff like that. Then I have to put together an interview and that type of thing for on air. Yeah. So it'd be a long day. So I mean, a lot of times as soon as I get home at night, 7 o'clock at night, I'd be in bed because I'd get up like 3 o'clock in the morning to get ready to go back and, you know, be back with the radio station. So So a lot of times
you definitely dedicated your life.
Yep, that's radio life though. So. And you work weekends and holidays and all that type of thing, but that just goes along with it, you know.
Well, with the Celebrity Spotlight, how long did that show last, or how long were you interviewing celebrities? Was it for a few years?
5 years. Yeah, 5 years pretty much. We did that from 90 till 95 pretty much. As I said, Rocky Allen, who was the morning show host at that point, started that. And then it continued into Scott and Todd. And so until I had left Scott and Todd's show, when they had sort of made changes on their show. And then I wound up going to KTU, 103.5 KTU, which is still on the radio today. And I was assistant producer of the RuPaul show. And you know who RuPaul is, right? With the
RuPaul? Yeah, I know who RuPaul is. Mm-hmm. RuPaul
so I worked, Yep. I worked with RuPaul, and I was assistant producer on his show for I say about a year, maybe a year and a half, until I went to Y107 in country. Yep.
Oh my gosh! Wow, you definitely jumped from a lot of genres in the horizons to, you know, country. But you worked with a lot of celebrities, or you got the inspiration from them, or did you get to ask them like the RuPaul or anyone you worked with? Did you get to ask them any questions that you wanted to use or for help with your inspirations?
Not really. I mean, just being around them, and you know, it would just be so much fun. And that being around these people and you know, working with them was an inspiration in itself for me. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love that. I really do. I think you did so much, you know, for a lot of people though, because you even broadened the horizons where you kind of made it seem like it's not impossible to shoot for your dreams for a lot of our listeners tonight. So I really do appreciate you definitely being here, you know, taking this interview with me. And I'm glad that hopefully we'll have you in the studio soon from the previous what we have. But I really do thank you. Oh, continue.
Looking forward to it. I said I'd love to be with you in the studio. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I definitely I'm so excited and grateful for everything that you've done. I can't wait to hear more stories. I wanted to ask you before we start wrapping up shortly. Due with COVID and everything, what else have you been doing? Have you been trying to reach out to like any celebrities? Are you trying to do more interviews? What are you on like the breaks right now, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm just lately not since March. Nothing has really pretty much been going on. I mean, everybody's been pretty much in their homes and not doing much. There's no shows. There's no concerts. So it's been a really different time for me, for sure.
Yeah,
Nobody's
you're so used to the entertainment. Yeah.
Even the Chiller shows have been halted. I mean, everything's been halted. I mean, I know I've seen you at Chiller a couple last time you were there.
Yes, but oh my God, we have to meet up next time.
Absolutely, that'd be fun. Hopefully, they're thing now in October, so hopefully we have to wait till October though. So.
Okay, well that's good to know because I know me and my family we signed up for the Christmas Con. I think they're still doing tickets. That's in New Jersey, Edison, and they said right now that they're not canceling the show until they find out further notice where there's no masks because you can't do masks and social distancing there. I mean, there's way too many celebrities for that to even happen. So they're giving us an idea. I think in October they'll give us an update. And then if sadly we cannot proceed with no masks and social distancing, it is going to be rescheduled to next year. But it's still so exciting to know that. And I've never knew there was a Christmas con, so that's really exciting.
Yeah, I found out about it last year, actually, and I was looking forward. I was interested in going to it, and I said maybe next year, but this year did not work out so well. So
I'm still going to try if it's open. I'm going to go. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Very cool.
There's so many.
Do you watch all those Christmas movies? Do you watch all those Christmas movies on Lifetime and all that?
Yeah, I watched the ones on Lifetime, a few on Hallmark, I think some are on Netflix. But the people that they announced for this year, which is pretty exciting, and I told my dad this, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, so they announced Caroline Rhea, Beth Broadwick, and Melissa Joan Hart. It's like, my ass her.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, okay, that is extremely amazing. And then the list was going on where they announced Danica something. She's from the Wonder Years. My dad knows her. Never seen that.
McKellen.
Yeah, you know her last name. Yeah, so you should look at the list. Like they announced so many celebrities that are going to be there. And I mean, they're still selling tickets. So if it's something that, it's allowed and the universe allows us to have it and we're safe, you should definitely try. I mean, you can definitely meet up with us there if the tickets are available. And that's something for the new year. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That would be fantastic.
Well, I can send you the link when we get off if you want. For Facebook, I believe they're called That's for Entertainment.
Cool.
On their Facebook page, but you should definitely check it out. But I want to give you this opportunity and the time now to get out your social media where people can find you. And, for anyone that's listening, maybe wants, questions or maybe wants to interview you, the best way they can contact you.
You can find me on Facebook. It's Jimmy, DIELE, on Facebook. Pretty much where you can find me, and you can find a lot of cool pictures from my career and a lot of interviews with celebrities. You'll see tons of pictures with celebrities, all different types of people, from the Elvis world and from Hollywood and all types of things. So connect with me there, and you can ask questions, you can message me or whatever. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Did you want to give out an email or anything? If people want to send you an email, also maybe they're more quiet and they want to just send you an email versus like adding you on social media.
You can email me at Jimmy. It's TCB, like taking care of business, DJ at AOL.com. So that's Jimmy, TCB, DJ at AOL.com. You could email me there, and I'd love to answer questions or whatever. And
Jimmy,
that'd be great.
I do have to say, I think we had an amazing interview. It really sucks that you're not in the studio, but we will definitely schedule that for next year. We'll make 2021 the best year ever. So that's what we all said to 2020. But Yeah.
So much looking forward to it. And hanging out with you, Danny. That'd be great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad. Thank you for also promoting the event. I was very shocked when I saw that. I was like, oh my God, thank you for the share. I'm not used to that. Normally, I just like to promote it myself, so I just give you the exposure, what I promised. But I do know when we do have you in the studio, Ruben is probably going to have thousands of questions for you because, as you off air, he wanted to talk to you more before we started.
Right. Yeah. I think he's a big Robin Leach fan.
Yeah. Or if you, I meant to also ask you before we go, did you, with radio, sometimes you have to do different voices. Did you do any like different voiceovers or anything that you learned or?
I did. We did. We used to have a voice guy at PLJ, and we used to do different weekends at PLJ where they would promote a different type of weekend, an 80s weekend or 70s weekend, and they do all these little different spoofs. And one of the first things I did when I started there, I was doing a little voice. I was a voice of a guy with his girl, on the beach, and I was the boyfriend. Like, rub me with suntan over here, suntan lotion. It was the first thing I did on air at PLJ, which was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Yeah, or like any of the commercials and stuff you had to like, emphasize or say on air or off air or record.
Well, just on the morning show, we would do that. Pretty much I'd promote stuff on the air, appearances and stuff like that. I never really did any of the spots, commercials on the radio, but just live stuff pretty much on the morning show. We did tons of that, And then I would do celebrity birthdays, and I still do celebrity birthdays on my Facebook page. So I do it every day, but people don't know that I used to do that on the radio at WPLJ. Every day I would just do celebrity birthdays, and I continue doing that to this day on my Facebook page.
That's something that stuck with you, though. That's awesome. I love that you didn't stop that.
Right, absolutely.
Well, Jimmy, I do have to say thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I truly hope that all of our listeners will learn so much from this interview as I did. Especially we're getting to know you better versus just talking on Messenger.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much again for having me. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to being with you in this studio.
Yes, we will definitely schedule that for next year. And thank you all so much for tuning in.